Hey, well, good afternoon, everybody. Um, Welcome to today's NCLUG Tech Talk. And today we're going to be talking with NCDOT about workspaces. But before we get started, I was just going to cover some quick housekeeping details. We are recording this webinar, and so you will be able to go view it on our website afterwards. We'll post it there. And then we are offering PDH credits to those who registered on the website, and those will be sent out to you later. And I believe everybody should have gotten all their PDH credits up until this week. So if you haven't, just send us a email at events, events at nclug.com, and we'll look into that. Stay tuned till the end. We'll be doing our last $50 gift card for the year. So stay tuned for that. And now I'm going to hand it over to Oak, who's going to talk about some NCDOT workspaces. There you go, Oak.
Thank you, Patty. Welcome to today's session on troubleshooting the Connect WorkSpace. I don't have many slides today. Today, just going to go through just a lot of just show and tell. So keep that in mind, and there'll be folks on standby in the panel to answer some of your questions in the chat box there. So if you have any questions, you can type it in there. Okay.
And just so you know, your screen isn't being shared right now. I don't know if we're sharing something or not.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I always forget that important stuff. Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can see now.
All right, thank you for that, guys. Keep on talking and nobody's seeing what I'm saying. Okay, so there's about 10 or 11 slides here. It's talking about the workspace here. So just downloading the workspaces, where is it? How can I get it and what I need to do? So our workspace is actually stored on our Connect website here. And if you go under Roadway Design Connect website there, I'm not sure how familiar you are with our website, but there's broken up to technical resource and design resources. It's under technical resources. Scroll all the way down at the bottom here on the right. That is the most current one right here. And we're starting archiving some of the latest 3 versions of the workspace to maintain compatibility issues that you may be experiencing. If your office has older versions or previous versions of ORD, which workspace you need to download. So you just download it from here. There's one thing you can do to check what workspace version are you about to download. If you click on the 3 dots here and do advanced or properties here, I put the property under the title here. So the latest one is 7.0.1, which was released 12/02/2020. So that's, if you're wondering what version of the workspace is the most current one we have available, that's how you would check here. So I just downloaded the zip file earlier to save time here. So I shouldn't have closed that, but you also, there's the zip files for the training. So there's civil geometry training, open roads designer templates, and there's the quick start training zip files under the same link. And like I said, we starting to archive the latest 3 workspace version for compatibility issues and the running ORD issues that you have installed at your office. There's also, which on the next slide here, I skipped a slide, but there's documents in helping you install the workspaces, explain a little bit about workspaces, workset, or what we are doing, what direction we're looking at, and some of its capabilities. So these documents I had Patty dropped in the chat box earlier, so you can download and take a look at these. But the one link I provide here is to what we call the ORD storefront that's managed by CAD Services and Jeff Garland at the NCDOT. This is the place you need to go to. This is the storefront for ORD. So Jeff has a lot of documents and videos and information on our ORD implementation plan here. And some of it concern workspaces. As you can see some of these documents here he has here. Okay, so I'll point out to some of these, workspace documents later in the presentation. And the content of the zip file, once I have this downloaded here, okay. The content when I download the zip file, so what is exactly in this zip file? So let's take a look at it, open it up. So it's doing 3 things in the background. So this right here is the latest workspace that contains our configuration and standards. So that's what you'll be updating. Also to this program data folder. It's the CFGs that you need to overwrite. So if we look at Open Road Designer here, and pay attention to this path here. So when your CAD admin or whoever's installing ORD in here, make sure, this is the correct path that they are installing the configuration. Just under C, program data, Bentley, Open Road Designer, CE configuration. And these are the configuration file we have to overwrite. So let's take a look at this. So what we do here is we define where our workspace is, our custom workspace location here under these 3 configurations variables here. This is, as I will point out in the see, one of the documents here that is in your chat here, the workspace diagram. I execute this, and it's here. Let me just briefly mention this here. So the way the workspaces, all workspace in general works is you have this front line here. This is the configuration variable. So This is a variable. You can name your workspace whatever you want, like Stand Tech, Connect, or whatever. So this is a custom variable. Say, where do I want to store all my workspaces? Okay. The second tier here is the standard Bentley workspaces organizations and organization civil here. This is the selectable part of, if you have multiple DOT workspaces, this is where you want to put them. And one of the guidelines in your chat box there talks about the universal Connect workspace setup, which you can achieve having, how do you configure multiple DOT workspaces here? And this is where you would do it from here. This is standard folder structure name. We didn't change anything around. So if the DOT used the standard Bentley configuration folder structure, it all should work. For larger DOTs like us, we actually have multiple disciplines. So we have an extra folder here for the different unit or disciplines at the NCDOT. This is where it knows, I want to load up hydraulic levels. I want to load up roadway levels. It goes to this discipline, and that's connect to your desktop icons. So depending on these desktop icons that you have on your desktop is what what resources, what unit is pulling it from. Okay, and that's how it works. So your desktop icons goes to the what you selected here, the DOT US North Carolina workspace. I know it's kind of small. Let me blow that up a little bit. Now that's the user selectable part. What you don't see in the background is going into the NCDOT standards and pulling the NCDOT standards. So everybody gets the NCDOT standards, but not everybody will get these units unless you use NCDOT all as your desktop icon. Okay, so that's basically how it works. It pulls on your desktop icons. When you select the North Carolina workspace, it goes to the NCDOT standards and it goes to the unit standards here. So keep in mind, this is a configuration variable, and we define that here in our zip file. Got so many. Oh. So we define it there in here. So since it's a variable, you can change it to whatever you want to use. Okay, so we don't recommend doing that at the NCDOT, but at the private firms, you're welcome to do whatever you need to meet your. It could be on a server. You store your workspaces, all DOT workspace in some kind of server location. So this is where you define it, and that's where the zip file is overwriting that for you here. Now, if you'd already done this configuration and you unzip this to C drive or to your setting here, you may not want for this to do that. So what I recommend you do here is if you already have that CFG set up, just delete this program data folder here. It will not reconfigure that to a custom workspace location that you set up at your office. Okay. And the third thing it does, the zip file contain is an example project workset file. So we have a example B B0000. work set file that we deliver, and we have plans for this. This is going to grow in time, where we're going to have actual, roadway files, hydraulic files, and see how a example project is created in ORD. So if you ever need to know what fonts, what styles, what example of a title sheet look like, or whatever, you can go to the example of this work set when we get it all, completed here. So it'd be a live document to fill up, what files go to what does things look like, what standards are we using, and so forth. So it's a good example deliver project. And in the future, when we get the Connect workspace working here, I probably just, I put this in a different place and this in a different place. So all you get is just the updated Connect workspace. All right, so that's the content of the zip file here. Okay. So the installation process after you download, and this is where some of our common mishap happens, is folks forget to uh, extract all. They want to copy it or create folders, and there's some reports that say, "Well, I can't write to my C drive." That's true. Your IT admins have set up we can't write to exactly to your C drive, but you can unzip a folder and subfolders to your C drive. So most uh, uh, most security, Windows security admin setup is like ours. So you can't create a folder directly on the C drive here, but you can actually, you know, unzip to your C drive. So I'll show you how to do this. So the first thing I do is just delete everything in my old workspace here. I'm just going to delete this whole workspace here. And that's another common mishap is people don't delete their workspaces. Uh, Unlike the where's the do this for all of them, but uh, I don't have anything open. Oh yes, I do. Have a file open, so it said you can't delete what's been used. Yeah, unlike the Workspace app update app there, um, when you update your Workspace, because it's a zip file, it replaces a file um, that is already there with the same name. Now, if you create a file with something in your workspace, it doesn't delete that because it's a zip file. It just keeps it, and that's not what we want. So the update workspace program will delete it compared to a zip file. But to make sure all that works, I'll zip it. Also, too, if it's a major update, workspace update, I'll also delete my desktop icons. Um, in this one, I'm upgrading from 6 to 7, and I'll show you the workspace, how you can verify your workspace. There, I don't need to redo my desktop icon, so I don't need to delete them this time for this update. So let me go to my download here. And the first thing is just right click on the zip file and do extract all. And here, just to the root C drive. Okay, just C drive. Most people want to put it, in all kind of weird locations, and that's not going to work. Remember how the folder or the zip file, it needs to contain that structure on your C drive to work. So some of these stuff, well, I'm not able to select my workspace? Why is the workset not working? It's because the folder that you installed on was a different folder than the C drive. Some of these configuration files written somewhere else, not under the C drive folder structure. So make sure it's C drive. Okay, everything from workspace zip to your training zip, all needs to go your C drive. You can't go to zip file and copy things in and out. Just extract all. Okay. So depending on, it'll take a little bit long to do, but it's extracting that zip file and it creates that folder that we just deleted for the workspace here. While that's been
Oh, while
extracted,
you're waiting, I was going to say somebody had asked the question, when you override config files in the program data folder, you lose access to the other DOT workspaces. Is there another way this
yeah,
can be
that's
configured
that's
without
where,
touching? Okay.
yeah, that's why I said when you about to unzip that file, just delete that program data folder because you already have configured it the way you want it to be. So yeah, that's a good question. So in that zip file there, almost hesitation to not launch this zip file, open the zip, but we can take a look at zip files. So right here, just delete that program data folder before you unzip it because you already have it configured the way you need to. And that also point out that folder structure there is not only doing roadway designer ORD, but it's also doing open rail and open bridge. So three configuration setup CFGs. Hopefully that answered your question. Okay, so here's my new workspace update, updated here. So, and then if I need to, I can go to the workspaces here. There's desk, and you can copy all these desktop icons and put it on your desktop. Okay, but as I mentioned, going from 6 to 7, I don't need to because it's a minor upgrade for us. Nothing's changed on my desktop. Okay, so that's it. You don't need to have any environment variables like in V8, SS2, and any of that stuff. This is all work straight out of the box or straight out of the zip file. So the desktop icon here, after you install it, you can, there's single NCDOT in your workspace like roadway and hydro and survey, location surveys, desktop icon here. and this NCDOT all here. And there's my choice here, a combination of workspace, and I'll show you how to work with these. So what is the minimum? I mean, obviously you don't need to have every one of these because I'm updating everybody workspace. I want to make sure every one of these icons works. So I have it all here. That's including Open Bridge and Open Rail here to make Open Bridge Designer in NCDOT Railroad here. So obviously, you know, if you're working in roadway design, I need to have all this? Okay, so what is the bare minimum icons I can live with to work effectively in roadway? So what you need is, this is required, the NCDOT WorkSet INP. Okay, this is required. Um, so after that, you can just use the single unit workspace and or NCDOT all. So I would need this for roadway. I need this and or this. Okay. So minimum of 2, recommended 3 for each unit. So all you really need is those 2 or 3 to work effectively in ORD. So what is this important NCDOT WorkSpace IMP? So what it does is it's an Ultra Edit file, a text file here. I'll just double click on it for Ultra Edit to come up. So what it does is first define if you have a project on the server somewhere, like a hard drive, here. You can use this variable to switch to where it is. Okay. Like consultants here may have a P folder for projects on the server. Just anywhere here, you use this my workset location to define where is your project stored in on the server. Okay. So I have some example here. This is maybe a division may want to do this or this. Or, you know, a consultant may want to do this, or a division may want to do this. This is where I store all my projects on the server. Okay. And this guy right here, NCDOT, use local work set. So you may have projects stored like L0 here on the server. So it's when you have this defined as L0, it goes to the server. When you have defined as L1, it goes to the C projects NCDOT folder to find that list of projects you stored on your C drive. You have this switch to L2 to do the unit training or the CAD admins who's responsible for their unit maintenance of the workspace. And L3 defaults to the location under workspaces and work sets. This is what Bentley says. If you can't find any projects or files under these 3, just go to this L3 location. Okay. And if we use L2 here, it goes to the unit training folder to do your training or your admin here. You have to define this extra variable. It says, is it roadway? Is it hydraulic? Because remember, you may launch this NCDOT all here, but we don't know what training you want to do. Since each training is stored under each unit, you have to define this variable. Okay, so let's do a quick demo of how this works. I'm gonna connect to my hard drive to a project here, R2635 here, SC. So ServCon, I have a connected project hard drive C. Okay, and that's okay. So what I want to do here, if I change this to L0, save it, and use one of the icon here on launch as a roadway user. And we just got some of the CAD admins got the 2020 R3 release installed. So this workspace 7.0.1 is compatible with 2020 R3. Okay. I'm looking at one screen, but it's prompting me for a different screen. Okay, so this screen up here, select my workspace. And now the only project or the only work set I'm available to select is that connected project to R2635C. So it's going to the server location for my work set or my project. Okay, why does this work? So in our drive here, under common, there's a CFG and the DGNWS. So this DGNWS is for the sheet index. You can delete this. You don't really need this. If it doesn't see it, it's going to create a new one, but don't delete it if you get like your sheet index stored. But if we take a look at this CFG here, at the bottom here, your work set configuration here, you could just copy it from the R2635C and put it under your R drive common folder. Just use this same CFG, but rename it to your TIP. Just use this CFG, copy this CFG and put it in your R common folder and rename it to your TIP project number. So that way when you open MicroStation, that's the work set name that you're able to select that with. So you have a workspace, you have a work set, and with the desktop icon, you also have what we call rows now, or what unit discipline you want to load. Okay. Let me change this to L1 real quick. So if I change this to L1, up here, I'm expecting to see project store in the C drive. So these are the projects I have stored in the C drive. Hit browse here. So if you can look at here, so C projects, NCDOT, right there. C projects, NCDOT, and here's all the projects I store in the C drive. Okay. And let me change that to L2. L2, since I'm using L2, I'm saying I'm going to row A in case I, do NCDOT all. What's under row A or any unit work sets? There, what we need is for a place for the unit workspace admin to brand those workspace file with. So what we have is admin RD, admin HY, admin, location surveys, whatever. And then you also have these quick start guideline training here, like quick start. So if that, you notice it takes me right to the, it's configured to take me to the C folder where I extracted. Remember, I told you extract those training right at the C drive, and it will expand these folders to where it needs to. Okay. So that's what L2 does. It goes to the unit worksets folder and look for that DGNWS, and it works at CFG. Says that tells them where to go to look for those location of the CAD files as a work set. I'll change this to L3. Let's do this again. And remember, you know, at this instance here, it doesn't know, you know, if you want to do roadway workspaces or hydraulics or any unit, nowhere in the selection part currently we can do that. So yeah, admin NC and admin DC points to NCDOT standards. But nowhere in here is this, I want roadway here. So that's coming in next year is what we call the third pull down list, which mimics these desktop icons. So when we get that list here, third drop down list as a row, we can eliminate these desktop icon here. That tells you if you want, you know, roadway, you want hydraulic standards as the row option here. Okay. So my choice is a combination here. So say you want to load up a combination you want to load up a combination of units here. So we define here C0 as everything. Default is roadway hydraulics. We can do this with the DRN file. So you have these combinations of units that you can load. Just change that combination number here. Okay. When you do that, you have to execute this my choice desktop icon here. Okay, so my choice will launch the combinations of all depending on that configuration variable standards, which standards you want to load, the combination of standards here. I'll just go pick, is there a file somewhere? Just to show you what it's loading. So if it's default to C1, that's roadway hydraulics. So I'm expecting to see roadway and hydraulic levels and feature definitions and so forth. So the combination of these two units, I am able to load with the my choice desktop icon. So there's NCDOT hydraulic levels, and they got a whole bunch of them. There's roadway levels, and notice everybody gets NCDOT levels. Okay, so that's how the my choice works. Okay. Oh, so Some common mishaps we notice since we deliver the zip file in the workspace, not extracting all. People want to copy and paste or just create folder in C drive. You don't need to do all that. Just extract all to the C drive. Not having NCDOT WorkSpace IIP. So after you download it, remember you have to at least have the Workspace INP in one other desktop icon on your desktop. So it can't remain at the desk workspace folder. You can't execute that. If the workspace needs to read your desktop to get these files. Wrong configuration installation. Remember I talked about it has to be under program data, Bentley, and you got Open Row Designer configuration. Some admins for your firm may install this at a different location, which cause these configuration variables not to work. So you're not able to select the workspace or the work set that's delivered. Not using a desktop icon, people just sometimes double click on there. Depending on how the system is set up, your workstation is set up. At NCDOT, some, like the central unit, has an environment variable. I'll show you that environment variable. I can spell it. I still can't spell it. Okay, so as part of the CAD image, the NCDOT has this this environment variable set up for us. So I can double click on a file, and since, like I say, it doesn't know the work set unless I have this variable defined. So most division computers or some firms will not have this variable defined, so it doesn't know exactly what unit standards do you want to load. So in Workspace, we configure if this is not defined here, it's going to do NCDOT all. Okay. Okay. Again, not using workset INP correctly. We don't know, I have a project store in my R drive, S drive, C drive, in the unit training. I don't know what configuration do I need to change. So just go to your work set and define which one do you want. Okay. Feature definition, this is a big one. So in a DGN file here, we recently changed the folder structure of these feature definitions. So if we look at the library real quick. Yeah, so if you have created an alignment or anything using feature definition, I would say prior to last month, you're going to have some issues with annotations and so forth. So if we take a look at like NCDOT here, you notice here, we also broken it down to where is it coming from, NCDOT in here. Previously, it was just alignment and then exist or propose. Now we have alignment, where it's coming from. Is it location survey? Is it roadway? Is it NCDOT, better organize this. So we made that change here. The feature definition you stored prior to last month doesn't work anymore because it's still looking for these without this extra folder added here. What we used to do is if you right click on the uh, feature definition file here in the what's used. So I'm in this file here. You can do update standards from DGN library if it was in the same folder. But since it's not in the same folder, you know, it can't update it to what's in the library because the library folder has moved. So we have a lot of concern with annotations because it used, we did a lot of annotations changes, and I would say make sure you have the latest feature definition that is updated to the new folder path, because the file that you have your alignment stored in or whatever you 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 know you created in back prior to last month uses the old folder structure, which you can't automatically update from the DGN library. So you have to manually go and reapply that with the new folder structure to make everything works. And sometimes it's just easier to create a new file and get these new feature definition folder structure correctly. Uh, Sometimes you can't do that. You just have too much work. You have to manually change those feature definitions and then update from library. Okay. So if you have any issues with annotations, something that's not drawn out right, or broken text, or text favorites, or whatever, that is the main cause. Your feature definitions in the older folder structure, uh, and so forth, that's not working. Okay, so not to end in a bad note here, I do want to share some of the workspace cool tips and tricks with you. So in a typical file here, where did it go? Okay. So we added some cool tools and new features in our workspace that I think is share worthy. I'll take a couple minutes just to show you that, and we'll get to the question and answers. Ooh, switch this. I do this all the time. I want L2. Okay. All right. Come on, come on. And that's why this, you see how long it's aggravating to launch files if you get out and in. That's why a lot of folks request this NCDOT all. I don't have to get in and out of the file, waste so much time doing this. Just load up everything. Actually, that's what I want to do. NCDOT all. Okay. Let's load up everything. And you can notice it doesn't take any longer to do this than launching a one unit desktop icon. So we don't see any performance loss nor gain in NCDOT all, but we do see some slowness or some issues working with NCDOT all, and I'll show you how to remedy some of this. So I just want to open maybe a cross-section sheet file here using NCDOT all. So I'm loading up everybody, all the NCDOT standards, levels, cells, everything. And the good thing about it is once you have this loaded, I don't have to get out the file. If I do NCDOT all, I just move from one file to the other without closing and, you know, opening a file back and see how long it takes. It just drives me crazy sometimes. So I have everybody levels, everybody features, everybody cells loaded here. So one cool thing we added in library here, mainly because it's DOT all, was this version checker. So how do I check my workspace? What workspace and I'm using? So under NCDOT workflow here, under apps, we have the check version of your workspace. Click on that. So you can see right here, we're using the NCDOT Connect WorkSpace version 2020 R3 7.0.1, release 12/02/2020. And down here, we also have what ORD version are you installed or have installed. This Open Road Designer Connect Edition 2020 release 3 version. This version is actually MicroStation version number, not the ORD version number. Okay, so these are the way to tell I have this installed as ORD. I have this installed as my workspace. So the first thing we do is just what workspace do you have? What do you have installed? That's a quick way to check with this version check. Another thing here is useful. Notice when I try to place label here, it's going to take a long time to load because I'm loading everybody, all the unit cells here. So it's going to take a while to load here. And to select the cell here, you see I've just clicked here and it says, I got all these cells. You know, I don't know which one to use. There's so many of them. It's just overwhelming. So cells. So it's like, man, which one? There's a million of these things. I don't know which one I want to use, you know, to load. So what we have here is your cell selector here. So you can go to pick list. You could do active is what you have now, or all, or none. So you can go to the NCDOT. I just want to load up NCDOT, or I just want to load up certain cells. So right here, I just want to go roadway. Actually, let me see what they got in photogrammetry. They've been quiet lately, so I want to see what they got over there. So cell library, what's there? They only have 2 cell libraries, so that's a good number. That's more manageable now. So if I do place label, I don't know if they have any labels. There's, you know, it's nailed down to just photo cell libraries. So that's a good way to have which one you load. You know, I can do none. So I can't, there's none. Or, you know, if I change it back here to, remember I could do all or active. So I do active. I'm back to, you know, the billion cell libraries here. Okay. The next good thing we added, if you're using NCDOT, is the ability to, we're just testing out 4 units right now in NCDOT to do levels. If you're still working MicroStation, I don't want to see billions of levels, you know, and so forth. I just want to see geotech DGN libraries. So I choose that there. It has a prompt here. It says loading NCDOT geotech only feature definition, element templates, and level. Please manually restart MicroStation. So remember what I said about not have to get it in a file. So I'm just, to restart this, I just go back to the backstage and click the same file again. I'm reloading this. So now, if I go to my level manager here, I should be able to just see geotech levels and what's used in this file. Okay. Same thing for feature definitions and cell light and some element templates. So that's a good way to, and then, you know, one of the guys asked, well, can't you, I'm not, can I load NCDOT plus roadway or so forth? Yeah, you can do that here. So test this out, see how you like it or don't like it, give us feedback. We'll include the other units if everything goes well. Okay. We have the ability to launch auto turns and guide sign now and future Taurus roundabout and Nexus D at DDI. So if I was to launch Auto Turn Pro, we're 11.0 install. What it's going to do is create what it needs here, and you get the good animation stuff here. What it does is if you go under the drawing workflow here, Auto Turn Pro is created here with tab, so you can work with auto turn and guide sign like the way you used to. Okay. Okay. And then notice here we added drawing under NCDOT workflow. This is microstation stuff. I just want to do microstation stuff. I don't need anything for ORD. I want to be in the drawing workflow. Sheet production, anybody, you know, all major units does their own sheet production. So we included a shortcut here to do that. And the new 3R tab here, that's for red line reviews and reports. I might add future for iTwin synchronizer, iTwin review here. But the last icon here, this has eluded me for several decades of why MicroStation doesn't have a calculator. So we created one here, put a scientific calculator or whatever you need, standard calculator, to do calculations, because I'm always searching for what's, you know, I'm not good at math. 1+1 is all I can do. Sometimes I get that wrong, so I need a calculator for that. Model Navigator, this was requested by one division guy. You may notice this too was in roadway in V8. So as under NCDOT roadway, Model Navigator here. And you know, just a quick way to navigate to the different drawing the sheet models here. So it's cool. You can put an auto mode here and set the seconds you want to switch from one model to the other. Your view option, do you want fit view like here, or the same view, or don't do anything with the view. So there's a lot of functionality that we had in V8 that I thought, you know, when one of the division guys, Michael, asked for it, it says, yeah, it may not be a bad idea because I don't have to since it's a VBA, I don't have to do anything, not recompiling and everything. So we just brought it over here to help you navigate through your models. You know, there's certain other ways to do this. You can do that. This here, you can go to the you can go to this guide here to navigate different models, but different options.
Oak, since it is right at 1 o'clock, I'm gonna let you finish going through these, but I just wanted to make sure before other people jumped off that just kind of cover some of our final details. But we can
Okay.
stay on and Oak can finish up. And of course, this will be recorded if people need to come back to it later.
Okay.
But Oak, we appreciate you coming in and doing this talk.
Okay.
And I know you're going to stick around and answer questions that people have. So if you got questions, just hang on and stick around. But thanks everybody for joining today. And next week, we're hosting a special one with Lisa Coleman, who's going to talk about navigating change. And so it's a little more non-technical, but I think it's really good information, especially dealing with the switch over to ORD and how you're dealing with change and even just the COVID stuff working from home. So I think there'll be a lot of great information. She's a fabulous presenter, so you won't want to miss that. So be sure to go and sign up for that. And with that, we'll conclude our 2020 year, and we'll be looking to set up some things for 2021. So just be on the lookout for that. And today's gift card winner is David Wright. So we'll be in contact with you, David. We'll send you out that email. So with that, I'll just hand it back over to you, Oak. But
Yeah,
appreciate your time.
Yeah, just a couple minutes. I don't have much more to show you, but here, when we talk about the ITLs, so how does the template library, so how does it know which one to go to? So we have configured a workspace here. And when you're doing coordinate modeling and your template libraries here, if you have defined a project ITL, project specific, a template library specific template library that you're working with, it's going to go look for that. If it doesn't find that, it's going to go to the default one in our Roadway Workspace, the master one. So we get a lot of questions on, how's my template library working with this configuration. So template library here. So right now it's going to this one I have here. So what, how does it know to use this library? Well, if you named it NCDOT underbar and was it HYD or RDYD, and you placed it under the project common standards template library folder, it's going to search for that first. Okay, so it's going to use this for this project if it finds it. If it doesn't, it's going to default to the one in our workspace. Template library here. No. Roadway Workspace. Let's go to this standard one here. Okay. And just because it goes to one doesn't mean you can't, like I said, you can just open any of these libraries to use. And that's pretty much all I have to show. But read up in those documents there. We show you how to configure other DOT workspaces in this document here. The 3CPO is a blunder. I thought his name was 3CPO, but somebody told me it's C3PO. But it's a way to label your horizontal alignment without having labeled the cardinal points. You manually do that because sometimes the default settings you don't like because it's too big, too large, or it's in the way. You can't really move it or rotate it the way you want. So we offer this option, and we'll show you how to do that in later documents. But that's all I have for today. Any question? comments, feedbacks will be welcome.
If you have any comments, you can type them in the chat box, or feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself. Maybe raise your hand.
Don't get quiet on me now. So anybody, there's something that really doesn't like or like about what we have with the workspace now? I think everybody left.
Everybody, they love it. Oh, yeah. I think a lot of people are probably still trying to finagle their way around it and don't feel like comfortable in it. Shell shock, somebody said.
Well, in the future, like maybe in 2021, we may do like a regular lunch and learn, like once a month, just to get you involved in what we're experimenting with, we're running into. So that way you don't get too much shell shock on what's released, I guess. Come on, I know Dean has some. I know Dean Sarvis always has some.
Danielle, do you have a question? I see your hand is up.
Hi there. Yeah, I didn't want to just barge in. Thanks.
Yeah.
So, Oak, thank you. I know we talked recently via email from VHB here. You asked the question about the workspace likes and dislikes, and this clarified a lot of things. Thank you again for doing this. One thing I just wanted to mention or ask is, does the DOT have plans to continue using mapped letter drives like the R drive? I ask because our company doesn't utilize them because of security concerns, especially around cyber attacks. They really open up your network to potential attacks when you use the mapped letter drive. So I was curious what NCDOT plans on doing long term.
Long term, the short answer is project-wise. So all the projects are going to be moved to project-wise. There will be some use. There's still some use of the R drive as to some capacity, maybe as backup to the R drive or to project-wise, maybe, or some other uses. Because we, in the early stage, like at the present here, we're still testing. So there's something that works in project-wise and doesn't work in project-wise. So we still need to maintain R drive. But long term, yes, we're looking at storing everything in project-wise.
Okay.
Including the managed workspace.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And that was another question somebody asked earlier, Oak. Is there any documentation on setting up a workspace on a project-wise managed workspace?
That will be a Kyle Newman and a Bob Wright question in CAD services. Yeah, they're set up several test and pilot project in ORD and project-wise for us.
Sounds like another NCLUG topic.
Yeah.
Project-wise in general. I know.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of discussion in project-wise. Can't right now.
Okay.
Some people love it, some people hate it.
Yeah.
I try to maintain neutrality on that.
I hear you. All right. Any other questions?
Hey, Patty, this is Jason. If I can jump in real quick.
Okay.
About that project-wise workspace question. We have got managed workspaces set up for SS2. We're still in the, as Oak said, in the testing phase of the ORD pilot. I'm sure the question pertained to ORD managed workspaces. That's what we're working on. But we do have managed workspaces working for SS2.
Yeah, and then we had some troubleshoot sessions. I refuse to work in project-wise just for SS2. So some of our guys put it back on our drive for me to troubleshoot. I can't troubleshoot ProjectWise and ORD at the same time. So to eliminate some of these, I just say, can you put it back on the R drive for me to just to temporarily troubleshoot it?
Okay. Well, that looks like that's no more questions, Oak. So we do appreciate you coming and doing this talk for us. And I'm sure there'll be more to come down the road. So I'm sure this isn't the last of it. So we appreciate it. And of course, if anybody ever has any questions, you feel free to email us at NCLUG, or I'm sure you can reach out to Oak
And Jeff.
directly.
Jeff.
And
Yeah.
Jeff, I'm sorry, Jeff
the
Garland.
storefront.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeff's at the ORD implementation storefront.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Y'all have a good holiday, and we'll see y'all next week.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Oak.